You build the dynasty,
Yeah.
and the foundation is supposed to hold for decades.
Right, you'd think so.
Yeah, you pour the concrete, you win the ultimate prize, and you just expect permanence. But if you step into the hyper-accelerated, incredibly ruthless world of modern football, you realize very quickly that the concrete is actually made of sand.
It really is. It's just shifting sand.
Exactly. So today we are pulling the thread on one of the most, well, brutal, whiplash-inducing dismissals in Premier League history.
Oh, without a doubt.
Just imagine delivering the absolute holy grail to a fan base. Like, we are talking about securing a 20th Premier League title for Liverpool Football Club.
Which is just a monumental, historic achievement.
Right. You break records, you win Manager of the Year, you literally write your name into the stars. And then just 12 months later, before the ink is even dry on your legacy, you are abruptly, coldly shown the door.
Yeah, dismissed. With immediate effect.
It's wild. So for you listening, whether you're a diehard supporter or just a casual observer of the game, it feels completely illogical, right?
It completely shatters the illusion we hold about sporting meritocracy.
Yeah.
We want to believe that ultimate success buys you time, that it buys you, grace and a long-term project.
But it doesn't.
No, not at all. What we are looking at here is the ultimate proof that the margin for error at a modern superclub is virtually non-existent.
You're only ever as good as your last run of fixtures.
Exactly. And in this specific case, the descent from the absolute pinnacle of the sport into just, total institutional crisis, it happened at a speed that is almost difficult to comprehend.
It really is. And that's the exact question we are going to tear apart today in this deep dive. We are looking at the sudden dismissal of Arne Slot from Liverpool FC.
It's quite the story to unpack.
It is. We are going to explore this unprecedented two-season tenure, the tragic, heartbreaking off-field circumstances that derailed a championship squad, and, crucially, we are diving deep into how the digital terraces are reacting right this second.
And we have a lot of material from those terraces.
Oh, we have a massive stack of sources from the front lines of Reddit. We're pulling, raw, emotionally charged insights from Rumours Liverpool FC, the broader tactical debates on soccer, and even the gleeful, yet quietly terrified, rival perspectives from our Gunners and Premier Manchester United.
The contrast in our sources today is really what makes this so fascinating to analyze.
Yeah, it's night and day sometimes.
On one hand, we have the official club statement from Liverpool's board. That's Fenway Sports Group, or FSG.
Right.
It's a surprisingly tender, carefully constructed piece of corporate PR. But then, you overlay that manicured corporate narrative with the raw, unfiltered, real-time reactions from the fans who live and breathe this club.
And you get a completely different picture.
Exactly. You see the mechanics of grief, the tactical arguments, the accusations of corporate ingratitude, and just this overwhelming fear of what comes next.
Before we get into the breakdown, I want to clarify something for you, the listener, who might follow the sport but perhaps isn't totally in the weeds of the corporate side.
Good idea.
When you mention FSG, Fenway Sports Group, what exactly is their overarching corporate philosophy? Because it seems like their fingerprints are all over the specific way this sacking happened.
Yeah, it is a vital piece of context. So FSG made their name in baseball with the Boston Red Sox.
Oh, right, the Moneyball guys.
Exactly. Heavily utilizing data-driven analytics, the whole Moneyball concept. In football, they basically view a club as an interconnected, highly optimized corporate ecosystem.
Okay, so very structured.
Very. They do not historically like the traditional English manager model, where one autocratic figure controls everything from first-team tactics to scouting, transfers, and contract negotiations.
Like Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United or Arsene Wenger at Arsenal.
Right. That is their absolute nightmare. FSG prefers a strict hierarchy. They want a sporting director who uses data to buy the players and a head coach who simply takes those ingredients and optimizes them on the pitch.
I see.
Keep that structural philosophy in mind because it is the hidden engine driving almost every decision we are going to discuss today.
Okay, that is perfect context. So let's start at the beginning of this incredibly condensed roller coaster. To understand the shock of this sacking, you really have to understand the sheer magnitude of what Arne Slot actually achieved in his first season.
Right. The 2024-2025 campaign.
Yeah. The official club statement lays it out as black and white fact. He joined in June 2024. He was tasked with following Jurgen Klopp, and he immediately delivered their 20th league title.
Which is just a massive psychological watershed moment for the club.
Yeah. 20 is a big number.
Reaching number 20 ties them back at the absolute summit of domestic supremacy. It's the number that Manchester United fans have lorded over them for a decade.
Oh, definitely.
So Slot didn't just win a trophy. He delivered a profound psychological victory to an entire city.
And he didn't just scrape by either. Let's look at the actual accolades. He ended that first campaign by winning the LMA Manager of the Year award.
Which is huge.
For the listener, the LMA is the Lead Managers Association. So this wasn't like a media award or a fan vote.
Right, it's voted on by his peers.
Exactly. The other managers in the professional game looked at his work and said, "You were the absolute best among us this year."
It's the ultimate sign of respect.
And on top of that, he took them to the Carabao Cup final. He guided them deep into the Champions League, reaching the last 16. And in the process, he finally broke the infamous Real Madrid curse that had plagued the club in European competition for years.
Breaking that Real Madrid curse was a massive, massive tactical statement.
Why was that so significant?
Well, Real Madrid had been Liverpool's absolute kryptonite under Jurgen Klopp. Klopp's heavy metal, high-emotion football often just ran headfirst into a wall against Madrid's cynical, experienced control.
Right, they just couldn't get past them.
But Slot came in and changed the tactical profile. He made them more composed, more possession-oriented, and he systematically dismantled Madrid.
Wow.
It signaled to the fan base that this wasn't just a continuation of the old era. This was a sophisticated tactical evolution.
And you see that euphoria captured perfectly in the fan sources. Like if you looked back at the archived threads from Liverpool FC during his early days, it was pure cinematic perfection.
Oh, they were obsessed.
Yeah, the fans were obsessing over what they called his 007 record.
Yes. The 007 meme, 0 losses, 0 draws, 7 wins to start his tenure.
The James Bond reference was literally everywhere.
It was, but the underlying sentiment there wasn't just joy. It was relief.
Relief? Wait, really? Not just joy?
Yeah, relief is the dominant emotion when you're succeeding a legend. He took over Jurgen Klopp's squad.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You have to understand, inheriting a squad from a manager with that much aura, a manager who rebuilt the entire emotional identity of the club, is arguably the most daunting inheritance in world football.
Yeah, the expectations are just impossible.
The historical graveyard is completely full of managers who tried to be the guy after the guy. David Moyes following Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United was a total disaster.
Oh, absolutely.
Unai Emery following Arsene Wenger at Arsenal completely fell apart. The pressure is usually crushing. You are constantly being compared to a ghost.
Right. Because if you change too much, you're disrespecting the legacy.
Exactly.
But then if you don't change enough, you're just seen as a cheap imitation caretaker.
That's exactly the tightrope he had to walk. And the consensus on the forums during that first season was that Slot was a tactical genius, precisely because he seamlessly transitioned a legendary manager's emotionally heavy team into a clinical, highly functioning new era.
And he did it without breaking the machine.
Exactly. He instantly maximized their potential.
But, you know, I want to push back on that narrative a bit, or at least bring in the heavy friction we are seeing in the sources right now.
Let's hear it.
Because not everyone buys the tactical genius label, especially in hindsight. Rival fans, specifically over in the Manchester United threads on our Manchester United, are relentlessly hammering a different narrative today.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. There is a user, Swagnuts, who explicitly posted this morning, quote, "Slot wins the league with someone else's squad, declines miserably the next season, gets sacked. Standard, really."
Typical banter.
You see this sentiment everywhere. He won it with Klopp's team. So let's unpack that. How fair is that assessment?
Not very fair at all, honestly.
I mean, doesn't a head coach still have to steer the ship? Can you really win a 38-game grueling Premier League season on autopilot just because the previous guy left you good players?
I actually think that narrative from the rival fans, while totally predictable, is incredibly unfair. It fundamentally misunderstands how elite football works.
Right, it's just a bit too simplistic.
It's one of the oldest, laziest tropes in football debate. Yes, he inherited a world-class squad. But let's look at the actual mechanism of what Slot did.
Okay, let's get into it.
You cannot put a Premier League team on autopilot. The tactical landscape shifts every single week. Managers like Pep Guardiola or Mikel Arteta are constantly analyzing your setup and finding weaknesses.
So what did Slot actually do to Klopp's team that made it his own in that first year?
Well, he changed the resting defense. He altered the pressing triggers.
Oh, so.
Klopp's teams played what was famously called heavy metal football. It was a relentless, high-octane counterpress. If they lost the ball, 5 players swarmed you instantly.
Right. It was terrifying to play against.
It was terrifying, but it was physically exhausting. Slot came in and implemented a much more controlled, possession-based system. He lowered the tempo slightly.
Oh, okay.
He asked the midfield to dictate the rhythm rather than just forcing transitions. He had to convince a group of players who had won everything playing one way to completely buy into a different philosophy.
That's a huge shift in mindset.
Exactly. He didn't just maintain the status quo, he re-engineered the engine while the car was driving at 200 miles per hour.
And all while managing the immense, suffocating pressure of Anfield.
Right. Regardless of whose players they were on paper, Arne Slot was the one pulling the levers on the touchline. He secured his legacy forever. He won number 20.
So he reaches the absolute pinnacle. He's untouchable. The fans adore him. He's outsmarted Guardiola. He's broken the Madrid curse. He's navigated the ghost of Klopp.
He was sitting on top of the world.
He really was. Which makes what happens next so deeply jarring.
Yeah, it's quite the fall.
To understand why a manager with that much capital in the bank was just sacked with immediate effect, we have to pivot.
We do.
We have to look at the tragic fulcrum that swung this club from champions to a team in absolute paralyzing crisis.
And this is really where the story shifts from a pure tactical sporting analysis into a profound, unavoidable human tragedy.
Yeah, we need to approach this with the necessary gravity it deserves. The sources all point back to the unthinkable, heartbreaking passing of Diogo Jota.
It became the dark cloud that hung over every single thing that followed.
It really did.
You cannot separate the sporting collapse from the psychological trauma the squad endured.
It is exceedingly rare to see a massive corporate entity speak with genuine, raw emotion in a press release.
Oh, absolutely. Usually these sacking statements are incredibly sterile.
Yeah, just, we have parted ways with the manager, we wish him well. But the official Liverpool statement today explicitly centers this tragedy.
It's very striking.
They write, and I am quoting here, that Slot helped guide the club through one of the most difficult periods imaginable following the loss of Diogo.
Right.
The board publicly, openly praises his deep compassion, his empathy, and his humanity during that incredibly dark time.
And that compassion had real, tangible, and ultimately catastrophic consequences on the sporting side.
How do you mean?
If we look at the deep discussions happening right now on our Liverpool FC subreddit, the fans aren't just reacting to the sacking. They are forensically dissecting why the team physically fell apart in the second season.
And what are they finding?
Well, they repeatedly reference public comments from the players themselves regarding the summer preseason.
Right. There is a highly upvoted comment from a user, TimeCaterpillar4103, who brings up an interview with Andy Robertson.
Robbo, as the fans call him.
Yes, exactly. Robertson apparently explained in a surprisingly candid moment that the squad was in deep mourning during the summer.
They were absolutely broken.
Yeah, they had lost a brother. And Robertson admitted that they had zero motivation to train during the preseason.
You can't blame them.
No, not at all. The thought of running tactical drills or doing sprint tests while dealing with that level of grief was just impossible for them.
And this leads to the massive tactical and philosophical debate raging among the fans right now.
What's the core of the debate?
The consensus in the threads is that Arne Slot, looking at a dressing room full of devastated young men, made a deliberate, conscious decision.
Okay.
He vastly decreased the intensity of those crucial preseason training sessions out of respect for his players' grief.
Wow.
He decided not to be the ruthless taskmaster. He decided not to run them into the ground.
And like from a purely human perspective, if you are managing people, that is unimpeachable leadership.
Oh, absolutely. You protect your flock.
Yeah, you recognize that mental health supersedes a sprint drill.
Yeah.
But if we evaluate the cascading mechanical consequences of this decision in the context of elite sport,
It's devastating.
then break that down for the listener. Why is the preseason so uniquely critical in English football? Like, why couldn't they just play their way into fitness during the first few weeks of the actual season?
Because in the hyper-physical Premier League, preseason is the engine room.
Okay, the engine room.
It is the only time of the year where a manager can build the physiological foundation for a grueling 9-month grind. Modern football at this elite level is essentially a series of repetitive, high-intensity sprints.
Right.
To survive a 50 to 60 game season, your body needs a massive base level of aerobic and anaerobic endurance.
And you can only get that in the summer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You build that base in July and August through brutal, intense double-session training days. If you don't build that base, you are running on empty by November.
It makes me think of marathon runners.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
It's like trying to run a marathon without doing any base mileage or altitude training in the months prior. You show up to the starting line, the gun goes off, and you might actually look okay for the first 5 or 6 miles.
Yeah, you get by on pure adrenaline.
Right. Adrenaline, muscle memory, and raw talent.
Yeah,
But eventually, the underlying lack of preparation catches up.
it always does.
The lactic acid builds up in your legs, your lungs start to burn, and your body simply shuts down. You literally cannot will yourself forward anymore, no matter how much you want to win.
That is a very precise analogy for what happened to Liverpool on the pitch. Slot protected his players emotionally in the short term, but he left them incredibly vulnerable physically in the long term.
And the fans noticed.
Oh, they notice meticulously. They watch every single minute of every game. You see comments across all the Liverpool threads pointing out the same alarming visual.
What were they seeing?
The players looked completely gassed and done by the 70th minute of almost every single match this season.
Ah, the 70-minute cliff.
Exactly. For the first hour, their technical quality would keep them in the game. But as the clock ticked past 70 minutes, you saw the physical breakdown.
Like players just stopping.
Yeah. Midfielders stopped tracking back. Defenders were a half-second too slow to step up for an offside trap. Forwards stopped pressing the opposition center backs.
And at that level, a half second is everything.
When that physical drop-off happens, elite teams just slice you open.
Which brings us to the agonizing paradox of Arne Slot.
It really is agonizing.
He made a deeply human, incredibly empathetic decision to prioritize the mental well-being of grieving young men. But the ruthless, unsentimental machinery of modern football just violently punished him for it.
That is the tragic core of his tenure. He was a great human being when they desperately needed a great human being.
But the Premier League table does not hand out points for humanity.
It certainly doesn't. The physical toll just compounded week after week. Injuries started piling up because fatigued muscles tear faster.
Right, it's a vicious cycle.
And this massive physical deficit leads us directly into the absolute nightmare that was his second season.
The 2025-2026 campaign. Let's look at the brutal reality of these statistics, because they are staggering for a club of this size.
They really are.
Now, he did manage to secure Champions League qualification by the skin of his teeth, and they reached the quarterfinals of that competition.
So from FSG's corporate perspective, it wasn't a total financial loss.
Right, they got the broadcast revenue.
Yeah.
But the domestic league campaign, the fans describe it universally as a total disaster.
The raw numbers are stark: 19 losses across all competitions in a single season.
19. That's insane.
To put that in perspective for the listener, a title-winning team usually loses maybe 3 or 4 games all year.
Yeah.
To lose 19 times for a club with Liverpool's massive resources, their wage bill, and their expectations, that is a catastrophic systemic drop-off. It's a total collapse of the floor.
A user on the Liverpool subreddit, Liquid Carbon, points out that the standards just dropped off a cliff.
They really did.
And this specific collapse sparks a really intense tactical debate in the forums. Because while many fans blame the lack of preseason fitness due to the tragedy, there is a growing, very vocal faction arguing something else.
What's their take?
They argue that Slot's underlying footballing philosophy was actually fundamentally flawed from the start.
Yes, and it's vital we explore this counter-narrative. There is a user, HealthyMethod9658, who posted a massive tactical breakdown arguing that the fitness issues were merely a symptom, not the core disease.
Interesting.
They accuse Slot of playing what they call low-energy football.
What does that actually mean on the pitch, like low-energy football?
It means passive possession. It means keeping the ball without vertical intent.
Oh, just passing it around the back?
Exactly. Under Klopp, possession was a weapon to attack. Under Slot, in this second season, it became a defensive mechanism.
Right.
They would pass the ball sideways along the backline for 5 minutes, creating no chances, essentially resting on the ball because they were too tired to make explosive runs.
So it's just a coping mechanism.
Yeah. Healthy Method 9658's argument is that this passive low-energy system only worked in Season 1 because the players still had the residual elite physical conditioning from the Klopp era.
Ah, the residual fitness theory.
Exactly. The theory is that Klopp built a team of absolute physical monsters.
All right, machines.
Slot inherited those monsters, dialed down the intensity a bit, and reaped the rewards of their underlying fitness base.
But then that base eroded.
Right. Once that residual fitness faded away completely in the second season, compounded by the lack of preseason training, Slot's actual tactical methods were exposed as inadequate.
That's a brutal assessment.
The argument is that his system relies on a level of physical dominance he doesn't actually know how to build himself.
That is a fascinating, albeit harsh, tactical critique. And what really stands out in the sources is that this disconnect didn't just stay on the tactical whiteboards on Reddit.
Oh no, it bled into the real world.
It bled visibly into the stadium. Fans actually booed the team at Anfield this season, multiple times.
Which is almost unheard of.
Right. For anyone who knows football culture, Anfield is world famous for its unwavering support. The famous "You'll Never Walk Alone" anthem isn't just a song, it's supposed to be an ethos.
Exactly.
To hear actual boos ringing out from the Kop end, it means the emotional bond between the fans and the team is completely fracturing.
And Slot's reaction to this fracturing is highly telling. It's probably what sealed his fate with the ownership.
What did he say?
In one of his final press conferences, he was asked about the poor performances, and he admitted to the media that he was, quote, almost confused.
Confused?
He openly wondered how a squad with so much world-class quality couldn't execute the basic fundamentals of a system.
Okay, I have to stop you there and ask you about the psychology of this moment.
Sure.
If a manager, like a leader of men, goes in front of the world's media with microphones shoved in his face and admits he is confused by his own team's inability to pass a ball,
Yeah.
is that a commendable moment of ultimate transparency and honesty? Or is it a fatal admission that he has completely, irreversibly lost the dressing room?
Historically speaking, across almost any major sport, it is almost always the latter. It is the death knell.
Really? That bad?
Yes. Once a manager publicly admits he lacks the answers, the board's hand is essentially forced. It signals a fatal breakdown in communication between the coach and the players.
Why is it so fatal, though?
Because players look to the manager for certainty. Even if the tactic is wrong, if the manager believes it with absolute conviction, players will run through brick walls for it.
Right, it's about belief.
But these players were already physically exhausted. They were emotionally drained from the grief of the past year. They were getting booed by their own fans.
They needed a leader.
Exactly. They were desperate for a lifeline. When the manager stands up and says, "I'm confused too," the players lose the very last shred of belief that he can fix the situation.
Wow.
It creates a massive vacuum of authority. And in a corporate environment like FSG's, a vacuum of authority necessitates the immediate change of direction that the owners cited in their PR statement.
And it wasn't just the tactical confusion either. It was the failure of massive financial investments.
The transfers.
Yeah, we have to talk about the £500 million elephant in the room.
We do.
The club spent an absolute fortune integrating new players this past summer. Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz. These are not squad players. These are marquee, franchise-altering talent.
Exactly. You buy Isak to be your lethal dynamic number 9. You buy Wirtz to be the creative genius pulling the strings in midfield.
Right.
Integrating £500 million worth of talent requires intense tactical drilling. You need preseason to teach Isak when to press. You need preseason to teach Wirtz where the passing lanes are in your specific system.
But they didn't have that preseason.
Because Slot couldn't run a proper preseason, these massive investments looked completely lost on the pitch.
Yeah.
To FSG, seeing £500 million worth of assets depreciating in value because the team is playing disjointed, confused football, that is a corporate emergency.
Which brings us to the shockwave. The exact moment the news actually broke across the internet and how people are processing it right now.
The immediate reaction.
Yeah. We are seeing a fascinating mix of genuine gratitude, accusations of brutal ruthlessness, and, well, the phantom of Xabi Alonso.
The digital reaction is instantaneous, massive in volume, and deeply, deeply layered.
Let's start with the tone of the sacking itself. If you look at soccer, which is the general hub for all football fans, not just Liverpool supporters,
Right.
users like Papercut Kid noted that as far as sacking statements go, Liverpool's was incredibly warm.
It was very unusually warm.
And you see this reflected heavily on the Liverpool sub as well. Fans are expressing deep, genuine gratitude.
They are.
They're posting compilations of the title win. They're thanking him for the 20th league title. Crucially, they're thanking him for his emotional leadership, being a father figure to the squad during the tragedy with Diogo Jota.
Yeah, that humanity really resonated.
There is a very prevalent sentiment of Thank you, Arne. We will always love you for what you did, but it was time.
It was a very dignified exit, at least in the public messaging. It wasn't toxic.
Yeah.
But, if you scratch just a millimeter beneath the surface of that gratitude, you find a very sharp, very angry charge of ingratitude directed specifically at the club's board, FSG.
Yes, the anti-board sentiment is brewing fast. There's a strong minority view, and you see it heavily from neutral fans looking in, as well as hardcore traditional supporters.
What are they saying?
They're saying that this dismissal is incredibly short-sighted and entirely classless.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a user named WastedTalent442 posted a scathing rant, simply titling it, "So Ungrateful."
They have a point.
And their logic is hard to ignore. They look at a manager who won the hardest league in the world just 1 year prior, a manager who navigated immense, unprecedented grief,
Right.
a manager who had to integrate £500 million worth of new players without a proper preseason.
It's a lot to deal with.
And they feel that pulling the plug on him now, refusing to give him a third season to correct the physical issues, is ruthlessly premature.
It highlights the extreme, almost pathological impatience of modern superclubs.
Yeah.
A championship, the ultimate prize, buys you maybe 6 months of goodwill. If you extrapolate this trend, managers are going to stop building long-term projects entirely.
Well, why would they?
Exactly. Why care about the academy or a 5-year plan if a bad run of injuries and fatigue gets you fired in month 13?
But what's truly dominating the discourse, the thing that is breaking the internet right now, isn't just the fact that Slot was fired.
No, it's the replacement.
It's the bizarre, incredibly messy timeline of the man they supposedly wanted to replace him with, the ghost of Xabi Alonso.
This is where the corporate structure of FSG directly collides with the reality of elite football management.
Here is where it gets really interesting for you listening. Across every single thread we are monitoring, the Liverpool sub, the Arsenal sub, the United sub, the General Soccer Forum,
We're all talking about him.
everyone is talking about Xabi Alonso. Fans are absolutely furious, baffled, and deeply confused about how this specific situation played out.
Let's synthesize the timeline because it is maddening to the supporters.
Okay, way out first.
Xabi Alonso is currently the darling of European coaching. A former Liverpool legend as a player, brilliant tactical mind.
Right.
The rumors heavily indicated that Liverpool wanted him, but the deal collapsed.
Why?
Well, the prevailing narrative is that Alonso rejected Liverpool, or conversely, that the FSG board rejected Alonso because of a fundamental disagreement over power structure.
Ah, the head coach versus manager debate we talked about earlier.
Precisely. FSG explicitly demands a head coach who fits neatly into their corporate hierarchy. They want a guy who works under a sporting director.
And Alonso didn't want that.
Alonso, knowing his worth and his leverage, supposedly wanted to be a traditional manager. He wanted a significant say in transfer policy. He wanted autonomous control.
Makes sense for a guy of his stature.
It's like a corporate acquisition falling apart because the incoming CEO refuses to report to the board of directors.
Right.
FSG wants a head chef who just cooks the menu they provide. Alonso wanted to be the head chef who also owns the farm and buys the ingredients. Because neither side would compromise, the deal died.
And the absolute kicker to this whole saga, the thing that is driving fans insane.
Oh, this is the best part.
Alonso has supposedly just signed a massive contract with Chelsea.
Exactly, one of Liverpool's biggest domestic rivals.
So Liverpool fans are pulling their hair out in real time. They are looking at the timeline and asking, why on earth did the board wait until Alonso was officially off the market to sack Slot?
It's a very fair question.
If the underlying metrics were this bad, if the team was this physically broken, if Slot was admitting he was confused weeks ago, why not fire him a week ago when the most coveted coach in the world, a club legend, was actually available and willing to talk?
The timing makes FSG look incredibly indecisive, which is the one thing a data-driven corporate board prides itself on avoiding.
The imagery in the Reddit threads about this is equal parts hilarious and tragic.
The memes are out of control.
You have users vividly imagining the exact moment Alonso found out. There are jokes about Alonso dropping to his knees in the middle of a Tesco or sipping a flat white at a Gale's Bakery in West London.
Reading the news on his phone.
Yeah, reading the news and suddenly realizing he just missed out on the Anfield job because the timing was off by a matter of 48 hours.
It's incredible.
The memes are incredible, but they mask a really serious structural anxiety among the fans. It leads me to a critical question about modern football governance.
Let's hear it.
Does the board's strict, unwavering adherence to this head coach model, where they flatly refuse to yield overarching control to a singular generational talent like Alonso might be?
Yeah.
Does that signal a dangerous shift in how super clubs are run? Are these ownership groups prioritizing their own corporate structure and data-driven hierarchy over actually securing elite, transformational footballing minds?
This is arguably the most important debate happening at the executive level of the sport right now.
Really?
Yes. Clubs like Liverpool, driven by American sports ownership models, want efficiency. They want a system that survives the departure of any single individual.
Right. No single points of failure.
If your all-powerful manager leaves, the whole club collapses. Just look at Man United post-Ferguson.
Yeah, that's a cautionary tale.
FSG wants a factory line. The fear among fans, however, is that football isn't a factory. It's an art form driven by human emotion and singular genius.
It's not just a spreadsheet.
Exactly. By prioritizing a compliant corporate structure, you might be willingly passing up on a generational tactical talent simply because he wanted a say in which striker you buy.
That feels like a huge mistake.
It's a massive, arrogant risk. You are betting that your corporate system is smarter than JB Alonso's footballing brain.
And while Liverpool fans are having this existential crisis about corporate structure and missing out on Alonso, rival fans are watching the chaos unfold with a really complex mix of joy, mockery, and outright terror.
The rival watch is always fascinating.
Let's look at it. The view from the outside looking in always provides a fascinating mirror.
Let's start with the Arsenal perspective on our Gunners.
Okay, what are they saying?
It is a really mixed bag of emotions over there. On one hand, Arsenal fans are looking at Liverpool and calling them classless.
Really? Classless.
They are appalled that a club would treat a proven, title-winning manager this way after a single bad season plagued by tragedy.
That's surprisingly empathetic.
But they aren't just defending Slot. They are using this entire situation to validate their own club's philosophy.
Ah, I see.
They are comparing Slot's immediate dismissal directly to the tenure of their own manager, Mikel Arteta.
Yes, this is a very prevalent narrative. There is a user, Usman786, who wrote a long post pointing out that Arsenal gave Arteta years to build his project.
And he needed it.
And Arteta went through some incredibly rough patches early on, finished 8th twice. There were massive fan campaigns to have him fired.
But the board backed him.
But the Arsenal board stood by him, absorbed the pressure, and allowed him to slowly build a title-contending squad over 3 or 4 years. Liverpool, in stark contrast, pulled the plug on Slot at the very first sign of a sustained struggle.
And the irony Arsenal fans point out is that Slot actually has a Premier League trophy in his cabinet,
Right.
which Arteta, for all his progress, still does not. It's a profound validation for the Arsenal fans.
They feel vindicated.
They are looking at Liverpool's chaos and feeling incredibly smug about their own club's patience and stability.
It reinforces their belief that true success requires time, not just ruthless optimization.
Exactly.
But then you swing over Manchester United, and the tone is entirely different. It's just pure, unadulterated schadenfreude, at least initially.
The Manchester United fans were absolutely relishing this news.
Oh, they were loving it.
For them, Liverpool has been an unstoppable juggernaut for the better part of a decade. They saw this sudden collapse as proof that Liverpool's recent era of dominance was just a purple patch that is finally coming to a spectacular end.
Oh, yeah. You see comments from users like No Atmosphere 8146 saying Liverpool is, quote, not happy about returning to their natural level.
Ouch.
Some United fans were actually annoyed that Slot was fired. They were openly hoping he would stay longer just to extend Liverpool's misery and drag them into a decade-long banter era, similar to what United has experienced recently.
They were luxuriating in the misery of their biggest rival.
They really were. However, if you read deeper into both the Arsenal and United threads, past the initial memes and the laughter.
The tone shifts dramatically.
Exactly. The laughter stops pretty quickly. I noticed a deep underlying anxiety bubbling up in both rival camps.
They're scared.
They aren't just laughing at Liverpool's corporate chaos. They are genuinely, quietly terrified of who the FSG board is going to bring in next.
Because a wounded Liverpool, backed by FSG's massive financial resources and driven by the desperation to correct a mistake, is a highly dangerous animal.
They're not messing around.
They know FSG isn't going to hire a caretaker. They are going to make a massive, aggressive move.
Which brings us perfectly to the climax of all this speculation. The man who has all of these rival fan bases nervously looking over their shoulders, frantically checking Twitter for updates.
Here we go.
Let's talk about the future. Enter Andoni Iraola.
The internet consensus on this is just overwhelming. The breadcrumbs scattered across the European football landscape all lead directly to one man.
Andoni Iraola is the chosen successor. It is practically treated as an established fact across all the subreddits right now.
And if we piece together the rumors and the timeline, it makes perfect logical sense from every angle.
How so?
Well, Iraola has been one of the most impressive managers in Europe over the last few years, first at Rayo Vallecano in Spain and then at Bournemouth in the Premier League.
Okay.
Recently, he unexpectedly rejected major lucrative approaches from two massive European clubs, AC Milan and Bayer Leverkusen.
Wait, why would a manager at Bournemouth reject AC Milan? That sounds insane on paper.
It does, but a user named Hanshin Fan, who is actually a Milan supporter visiting the soccer sub, laid it out perfectly.
Oh, what did it say?
They pointed out that AC Milan is currently a chaotic, highly politicized project. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is acting as a senior advisor and publicly meddling in coaching decisions.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Exactly. The boardroom is fractured. Iraola, who is a very methodical, structural thinker, looked at that chaos and walked away.
So what's the theory?
The prevailing theory across all the forums is that he rejected those massive clubs because he was quietly tapped up by FSG weeks ago.
Wow, they're already talking to us.
He was holding out, knowing the Liverpool job was about to open up.
And rival fans know exactly who he is, and they are deeply worried. An Arsenal user, Rockflagand Eagle, points out the growing, terrifying dominance of Spanish-born managers in the Premier League.
It is a trend.
You have Guardiola setting the standard. You have Arteta at Arsenal, Emery transforming Aston Villa, Xabi Alonso going to Chelsea, and now potentially Iraola at Liverpool.
They are dominating the tactical landscape of English football.
And over on the United subreddit, the fear of Iraola is even more palpable. They openly state that an Iraola-led Liverpool instantly, overnight, becomes a daunting title contender again.
They're right to be scared.
Why? What is it about his specific tactical profile that scares them so much?
Because of the way his teams play. His style of play at Bournemouth, that high-octane, relentless, aggressive vertical pressing, is highly reminiscent of Jurgen Klopp's famous heavy metal football.
So it's a return to form.
Iraola's teams do not play low-energy possession. They hunt the ball in packs. They attack with terrifying speed and transition.
It is the exact polar opposite antidote to the slow, passive football that the Liverpool fans hated so much under Slot's second season.
Exactly. And crucially, if we go back to our earlier discussion about corporate philosophy, Iraola fits the FSG head coach model perfectly.
Right, he plays nicely with the boardroom.
He has shown at Bournemouth that he thrives on working within a defined structure. He doesn't demand total control over transfers. He works with the sporting director.
That's exactly what FSG wants.
He develops young players exceptionally well. And most importantly, he plays an incredibly attractive, physically demanding brand of football that the Anfield crowd absolutely craves.
It's a perfect match.
He represents a return to their most successful modern identity, but packaged within a compliant corporate framework.
It's like the club's immune system tried to accept a completely different tactical DNA for a year with Slot. It worked initially, but eventually the body rejected the transplant.
That's a great way to put it.
Now they're rushing to bring back the heavy metal. They want
Right.
the noise, the chaos, and the energy back.
It will be a fascinating tactical shift to watch, assuming he can fix the underlying fitness issues that doomed Slot.
Okay, let's take a breath and bring this all together. We have covered an incredible amount of ground today in this deep dive.
We really have.
We have watched the highly condensed, undeniably brilliant, and ultimately tragic arc of Arne Slot at Liverpool. He will forever be the man who secured number 20, etching his name in the history books of one of the world's most storied clubs.
A huge legacy.
He will always be remembered by the fans as the deeply compassionate leader who guided a grieving squad through its absolute darkest hour.
Yet his tenure serves as a stark, unforgiving, and deeply cynical reminder of the true nature of top-flight football.
How so?
A lack of physical preparation, even when done for the most humane, empathetic reasons imaginable, combined with a stubborn adherence to a passive tactical system, can completely, permanently erase the glow of a championship in a mere 12 months.
It's brutal. You spend your life working to build a monument, you finally erect it, and a year later the board comes in with sledgehammers because the quarterly metrics dipped.
Which leaves us with an incredibly complex, slightly disturbing dynamic to consider about the future of this sport.
What's that?
In an era where winning a Premier League title, the hardest competition in the world, only buys you a few months of goodwill from your corporate bosses, have we reached a tipping point?
It feels like it.
Have we reached a point where the human element of football, the fundamental human need for grieving, for resting, for emotional recovery after a tragedy, is entirely structurally incompatible with the unrelenting, mechanical, optimized demands of the modern superclub?
That is the multi-million-dollar question. And it's not just about football. It's about how we view athletes as human beings versus assets on a spreadsheet.
Exactly. If showing deep compassion for your players, if treating them like human beings who are hurting ultimately costs you your job because it compromises a physical fitness metric,
Yeah.
what kind of leaders are these massive corporate clubs actually looking to hire? Are they looking for inspirational managers of men, or are they exclusively looking for unfeeling, data-driven optimizers?
Wow, that is a heavy, profound thought to end on. Because if the shield of a championship is truly made of paper and basic human empathy is now considered a fireable offense,
Yeah,
what are we even watching anymore?
it's a scary thought.
Are we watching a sport, or are we just watching an algorithmic simulation of a sport? We want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring the very fine, increasingly blurry line between human empathy and sporting ruthlessness, because as the money gets bigger, it's only going to get sharper. Until next time.